If you're watching this, it means you didn't blow away. The winds are going to keep coming tonight. No preemptive power shutoff by Xcel as they go before regulators to defend the decision to do it last time.
White smoke has emerged from the ceiling. We have agreement on cutting property taxes.
It depends on how you define cutting property taxes. A last-minute bipartisan deal would at least stabilize property taxes. And a mother who lost her son to fentanyl wants his face to be front of mind when Coloradans think of overdoses. That's tonight on Next. Today's Front Range wind should come with a warning like the airport train. Hold on, please. Wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour expected to continue through the night. Strongest winds swept through earlier today. A 75-mile-per-hour gust flipped a small plane at Centennial Airport this morning. That wind did unauthorized tree work all over town. Power lines came down along with the limbs, and right now about 2,500 Xcel customers don't have power. It was quadruple that earlier today. No preemptive power shutdown from Xcel today. Xcel did not pull the move that it did last month when high winds were in the forecast. Our Mark Salinger talked to a bunch of people in the power business and found that only Xcel is willing to take that preemptive step.
We are going to have high winds throughout the remainder of today and into tomorrow as well.
Today was windy.
Check 1, 2, okay.
Bad enough to have press conferences to warn people of the fire danger.
We have some power lines down that are causing some spot fires.
The last time it was windier than this, power was cut preemptively to thousands of Xcel Energy customers in early April. It took days for some to get it back. Xcel did it to prevent their power lines from sparking a fire. No one else seems to be willing to take that step.
Unfortunately, no electric system is going to be immune from damage.
Jay Anderson works with Colorado Springs Utilities. Wind gusts topped 80 miles an hour there today. Yet he says his company has no plans to start shutting off power preemptively on windy days.
So we're handling a lot of these issues through switching, through remote operations to try to narrow down and shrink the amount of customers who are out of power.
Colorado has more than 50 separate electric utilities. That means more than 50 sets of separate rules and standards. There is no electric utility up and down the Front Range, other than Xcel, planning on instituting preemptive power shutoffs because of wind. While some utilities will consider power shutoffs in the most extreme conditions, the vast majority do something that Xcel also already does.
If there's a problem on our system, a breaker opens and doesn't try to reclose.
Like Xcel, we found most companies will increase sensitivity on their power lines when it's windy. If power is lost, they'll send a crew out to inspect the line before turning it back on. It's an alternative to shutting everything down preemptively.
These high winds can create unpredictable situations, so be prepared for anything.
So why does this all matter? If you see a meteorologist come on the news and they say, hey, we're going to have 70-mile-an-hour winds next week, you might want to prepare. We could pass that along if we knew that an electric company will cut off power at a certain threshold. We can't tell you what that threshold is if you're an Xcel customer. However, we can say that if you are not an Xcel customer, you likely will not have your power shut off preemptively, Kyle.
Right, that would be useful information because people could line up expectations with the forecast. I guess, why not today? If they have it in their toolbox, why not today?
We asked Xcel. They said that conditions didn't warrant it, whatever that might mean. They didn't go into specifics on what those conditions that would warrant it is. Again, we don't know what that threshold is. If we did, we'd pass it along to you so that you could prepare.
Well, Xcel faced questions on that today. We're going to get to that in a moment. Mark, thank you. First to Kathy Sabin for a look at what the winds are bringing tonight.
High wind warning continues tonight, Kyle, for winds over 90 miles per hour today. We've had 3 days of gusty winds, but today was the topper. Today is where those winds peaked, and we're still seeing that along the Front Range tonight. Some of the worst of the wind in the Cheyenne Mountain area, gusts to 96 miles per hour. Broomfield, Centennial, 60, 70, 80 mile per hour winds. Greenland, a gust to almost 80. Castle Rock, DIA, we had numerous flights canceled and delayed due to the dangerous wind, as you might imagine. In the high country, it's snow and wind, and we have winter weather and travel advisories posted there. The worst of the wind just to the west of Denver, around Broomfield, Erie, Lafayette, up into the Red Feather Lakes area, southeastern Wyoming, and into northern Nebraska. But the winds, while subsiding a bit after sunset, will continue to blow west of I-25. High wind warning continues here, and to the south, the high wind watch will carry into the day tomorrow. Wind and snow made for difficult travel, and that snow still coming down in the high country tonight. tonight. Denver is dry this evening, but off to the east, a line of tornadic, hail-producing thunderstorms. Storm Prediction Center has this 10 out of 10 for dangerous storms overnight tonight in Oklahoma City and Kansas City. We'll be monitoring that along with the precipitation, which comes to an end in the high country, but the winds will not fully stop until sometime tomorrow afternoon, especially for those of you along the Front Range foothills. So a little bit of an improvement in the wind for Denver after 8 o'clock tonight. We get you to 62 with some foothill wind tomorrow. Wednesday's the best day of the week, the calmest day, ahead of showers and cooler weather for Thursday and Friday.
This windy day just happened to be when Xcel leaders had to go before state regulators to explain why they shut off power to 50,000 Coloradans and how they might better communicate about it next time. Our Marshall Zellinger listened in and learned for the first time that Jefferson County's Emergency Operations Center went dark the day that Xcel turned off the lights.
If you listen closely, you can hear what Xcel learned about purposefully shutting off power last month.
Earlier communication, more frequent communication, more accurate communication.
As part of this meeting today between Xcel and the Public Utilities Commission, emergency managers also gave feedback, which is when we learned the public safety power shutoff last month also shut off power to Jefferson County's Emergency Operations Center.
We were going to lose power to our emergency operations center, so we had to go to a remote activation level, which we did. Currently, there's limited backup power on this facility.
This afternoon, Jeffco Emergency Manager Nathan Whittington explained what would benefit every Xcel customer next time.
I think the biggest thing we want from Xcel is advanced notification.
So these 3 examples are 3 of 35 that we ran.
During today's presentation, Xcel executives showed what went into the decision to shut off power last month. These graphics are a simulation Xcel used to determine what would happen if a power line started a fire.
The data shows that within 8 hours, an ignition at any one of these locations could reasonably be expected to burn thousands of acres, destroy between 100 and 700 buildings, and impact hundreds of individuals.
Future power shutoffs will come with additional warning from Xcel starting 2 to 3 days before it happens. One of the commissioners asked about using reverse notification, similar to an Amber Alert or weather warning. Shutting off power does not fit the criteria for that type of alert.
The wireless emergency alert system, WEA, is really intended for life safety. Immediate threat. The last thing we want to do is over notify or over alert individuals to where they shut the alerts off.
Quick reminder to opt into your county's emergency notification system because that may be one way they communicate in the future. I'll point out that Larimer County had a different situation altogether. Their emergency operations manager explained 18 hours notice and seamless communication with Xcel. As part of today's presentation, Xcel said it would reach out to all residential customers this month to let them know they can opt into a medical certification program. In terms of power shutoffs, I believe it means if you opt in, they'll know you exist and maybe take your area into account when deciding if a power shutoff is prudent.
Marshall, people ask why we spend so much time talking about this. It's because people's direct concerns, amplified here and given directly to Xcel and regulators, have the opportunity to change policy. Like all the people who wrote in to say, somebody in my family is reliant on electricity for a medical device. We need more of a heads up before that device gets turned off. Another question that we've received from people, why neighborhoods with buried lines were impacted by the wind shutoff.
Xcel talked about that and said one of the solutions would be to bury more lines in needy areas where they might have to do power shutoffs, but they also showed graphics that showed neighborhoods that have underground lines are serviced somewhere along the line by an overhead line. So I guess the solution to that would be if you can go back far enough and bury the overheads, then it wouldn't be a problem, but I don't know how simple that is.
Yeah, that gets astonishingly expensive. Marshall, thank you. The most powerful people in state politics procrastinate like teenagers with a term paper. And today, on the last possible day to introduce a new bill in the legislature, the governor, Democrats, and Republicans announced they had a property tax compromise. Their #1 priority, saved for last in this legislative session.
This solves the problem that Colorado voters are concerned about. It puts very reasonable caps on increase on property taxes.
The bill would keep property taxes basically stable rather than allowing them to spike this year. After 2025, the proposal would limit how much revenue local governments could bring in each year without voter approval, with exceptions for school districts. Despite what the governor's big sign said, it's not a property tax cut. Most people will not see their property tax bill reduced. The bill's sponsors say instead it's about preventing more than $1 billion in future increases. If this passes, the legislature would backfill some $400 million to schools and local governments to keep them from losing money in this first year. There would be smaller reimbursements in following years. The bill sponsors say they're committed to keeping schools fully funded. To do that, they'd reach into state reserves and the state education fund.
We will not cripple our state budget. We will not go to a budget stabilization factor. We will find what we need to find to make this work.
That we will not recreate the negative factor the very moment we just got rid of it. And there are initiatives on the ballot that put us in danger of returning to a negative factor.
You heard Democratic Senator Chris Hansen refer to it there. This last-minute compromise is an attempt to fend off a tax cut that conservatives and business groups want to put on the ballot for your consideration in November. Conservative strategist Michael Fields and his organization Advance Colorado are behind multiple property tax ballot initiatives. One already approved would put a 4% cap on property tax revenue increases. You will see that on the ballot unless they pull it. Another one, still out collecting signatures, would lower assessment rates beyond what state legislators are proposing. Fields says this compromise announced today is not going to stop them.
We have no plans at this point to stop our measures. I think people want simplicity. They simply want to cut the rates. They want to cap the increase moving forward. The legislature is trying to make this much more complex than it has to be, having a lot of carve-outs, a lot of exemptions, and really that we're not going to get the savings that they're promising.
Legislature has to fast-track this bill to get done with it by the end of session Wednesday. That means that some other unfinished bills may not have enough time to be debated, amended, and passed. You know the deal. Democrats run the show at the Capitol, but Republicans' power to delay bills can kill bills in these final days. In fact, Democrats at the Capitol are dropping a proposed ban on so-called assault weapons. Second straight year that a bill like that has not become law, though this one got farther than last time. It's not clear that Democrats had the votes to pass an assault weapons ban. State Senator Tom Sullivan, whose son Alex was killed in the Aurora Theater shooting, he's been skeptical of gun bans, and his vote would have been needed for Democrats in committee. Even if it had passed the Senate, Democratic Governor Jared Polis has been wary of this. He said that such a ban is better left to the federal level. Gun rights groups had promised to sue if it became law. So many of you came through for Jeffco's Foothills Animal Shelter in your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be crickets, but you raised almost $40,000 plus monthly donations to the Word of Thanks Fund, which have been adding about $20,000 to each week's campaign lately. Your generosity has meant $12.5 million raised for Colorado's nonprofits since 2020. And a lot of our ideas come from you. So if you know of a nonprofit that's doing impactful work anywhere in our state, email me next at 9news.com.
These are people that you know, that you may have encountered in your life. It's not just, this could never happen to me.
She wants you to see her son, to know his story, and to talk about fentanyl. And the wind delayed a ton of flights today. Not necessarily the wind speed, it was that wind direction. There's a billboard in southeast Denver that isn't selling anything. It's one mother's hope to catch our eye and to create conversations about what fentanyl is doing to this state.
My son is up hiking. He was a good kid, loved sports, crazy about sports, hard worker. And it was his 24th birthday, and I think it was his birthday week, and he just decided, okay, I can party one time. And that's all it takes, is one time. My name is Sabrina Jankowski, and I am the bereaved mother of Joseph Jankowski, age 24. Joey Jankowski was born July 6th, 1998, and he died on July 12th, 12 days after his 24th birthday in 2022. I dropped. I never ever thought that I'd be burying my son. I'm trying to get the word out. 300 people a day in the United States are dying from fentanyl. Well, the billboard is actually put up by Rachel's Angels. All the people that are on the billboard, or us parents, have bought spots for that billboard. We're still burying our kids. And it's the biggest killer in the United States from the age of 18 to 45 years old. Most of the people on the billboard, 75% of them are from Colorado. People are going to go down and they're going to see people that they've come across. I'm hoping that they take away, when they see the billboard, that they understand that it's real. It's a problem, and I'm hoping that people really think twice about it, that it can happen to anyone. This picture was taken about 2 weeks before he passed away. Nobody wants to be a part of that, billboard club.
Jankowski is holding a fentanyl awareness rally Saturday at the Piper Inn, corner of South Parker and Iliff, right beneath the billboard with her son's photo. Our airport does not so much have a wind problem as it has a runway direction problem on days like today. DIA has a chance to improve that before long.
Stand by. Got some 50-mile-an-hour poetry coming your way.
Our resident poet scientist, Corey Reppenhagen, back on the weather beat. Next. If you flew out of DIA this morning, to quote Ron Burgundy, I don't believe you. The airport saw more than 1,000 delayed flights as winds topped 50 miles per hour out there. Meteorologist Chris Bianchi looks at how runway direction, more so than the wind speed, is the real issue.
So if you're ever flying in or out of Denver International Airport, you want a north or a south wind, unlike today's west wind. Let's explain why. So DIA likes to brand itself as an all-weather airport. Part of that is that they have 6 runways available for use. That's a lot more than most airports, not only across America, but really across the world. But when we have today's wind, which was a due westerly wind, that's what we call a crosswind, which means that planes can't take off or land in a strong wind that goes against that runway configuration. So that meant today there were only 2 runways available for use, which is unusual for us at the airport. So, long story short, if you're ever flying in or out of Denver International Airport, you want that wind coming out of the north or the south. You get a strong west wind like today, you're going to have all those delays like what we had earlier on.
So the airport is in the process of planning a 7th runway. They haven't announced if it'll run east-west or north-south. I would say the truest test, though, of whether a day's weather in Colorado was really worth talking about, like today's, is whether meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen gets all poetic on us.
Corey Reppenhagen is on the weather beat.
Your strength met with angst, a symbol of imbalance. You are the wild wind.
That was Corey Reppenhagen on the weather beat.
When he busts out the scarf, oh yeah, get the snaps for Corey. When he busts out the scarf, you know we're in for it. Your feedback is next. Tom writes in to remind us that PG&E, the energy provider in California, that they do also preemptively cut power during high wind events there. Tom, you're absolutely right. Marshall Zellinger has covered how Xcel Energy has studied PG&E's success and very tragic failures in supplying power during high wind events and high fire danger. And we're going to keep an eye on those connections. Eloisa says, why do you keep calling them so-called assault weapons? Great question. It's because Colorado law does not define what constitutes an assault weapon. That's the reason why the ban, which failed today for a second straight year, defined those weapons and then sought to ban them. GL says, totally digging the no tie with the blazer look tonight. Fits the vibe of Next. We'll see what the wife and the boss think. We'll see you next time.